Obviously, on back to the story.
We see Vesper conflicted, looking between the purple and golden daggers.
I am no ruler. I am but a servant. And I think a person who's meant to lead doesn't need things to represent his station.
We await a return. The start of a new age. Your weapon, Havelmer, holds an important place in this ritual.
So, coming back to the story here, as Felix transports through the neuronal network of Nor back to the scales, you're back in Nymonet, gathering back together, trying to decide your next moves. During this time, you see the return of defeated knights of the sun, the Luminates, in a procession re-entering Nymonet. Armor-dented banners, torn, soiled, and bloody gear, tired horses. Upon one of them is Kalvyn. Rejoins the scales, the throne lands fallen, holding them back as best they could. The sun moons, the 7 of them, guiding their exodus back to Nymonet to hold out. Meli has been working on a spell. Little hints and theories and thoughts and hypotheses scribbled in the margins of her notes over the last years, and something more recently in her mind. And Meli, part of your components for what this is, this spell that spans over multiple pages, requires a graveyard, a massive one, or perhaps the remnants of a great battle. You need a lot of dead, a place where a lot of death is held. There is the Black Star District, the Raven Queen District and graveyard, attached to Nymonet as one option. There's other areas looking around, reading about where great historical battles occurred outside of Nymonet, slightly less or slightly more secluded, where there would probably be enough dead. Where would Meli want to do this? It doesn't even have to be in Nymonet. It can be wherever you want, but where would you want to find a graveyard?
I think she'd want to find one of the secluded places, because she knows that the others probably won't approve. So she's going to probably try and do it somewhere where they won't be able to just wander in and see.
Okay. There would be one around Nymonet and one outside of Embershore that you would be able to find out about and get to relatively easily. Would you have a preference, Meli?
Outside of Embershore.
Okay. So you'll head back for a few days. Do you bring anyone with you?
Is Felix back yet? Or is he still...
Everyone's back together.
I'll ask Felix to come, because I feel like he's going to be the least judgy and the most helpful.
Okay. Felix, do you accept her offer?
Yes, he will be judgy, but he will absolutely be helpful.
Okay. So you make plans to leave, teleporting back to Embershore and finding this historical battle. Outside of Mortham, the ruins where Orcesis was killed. This ancient battle before the founding of Embershore, where a sort of low, not quite a valley, meets the edge of a cliff. And many died on both sides. And their remains still rest here. The bones of this battle fought long ago. It's dangerous getting there, moving through the forest, especially at night. The death anchor leaking death above, undead moving about. The city in Embershore, as you move in and out of it, is on lockdown during the night, gates closed. And you prepared what you need with this spell, that's been completed in your spellbook. There's a multi-page ritual you have to follow. As Meli is following this ritual outline that she's partially developed, what does it look like as Meli is casting this?
So she tries to locate what is the center of the battlefield between both sides. And she asks Felix to help her gather as many skulls as possible. And once they got as many as they can possibly carry, she sits down in the middle and asks Felix to make a ring of skulls around her. And then she has a bowl which she cuts her hand, not in her palm because that really hurts. And she drips blood into it and starts to chant.
And as you speak these words in your spellbook and chanting them in a rhythmic pattern, the blood in the bowl begins to ripple at the sound, dance and move and shift. You feel strange trembling in the ground beneath you. The skull's teeth begin to clatter. Bones begin to break up and out, those you weren't able to gather out of the ground, shifting in pieces. A femur there, clavicle, fingers, tibia, and begin to pull towards the skulls, the ring of them around you. More and more push until they're gathering around at the ring, pulled with some strange magnetism towards the center, towards the words, towards the bowl. They build up like waves and begin to form almost a wall, like water building up. Liquid, dark, begins to gather in puddles throughout this graveyard. Dark and red. Blood. It begins to rain, falling upward strangely. And something shifts and pulls from this bowl. A hand reaches out of the blood and grabs the edge of it. And then another hand, and another, and another. His four hands pull something out. A hooded figure. A skull, glowing eyes, a long neck with no jaw, leading down to a body with a medallion that hangs around their neck, swaying as it crawls out of this bowl. The bones all around chatter in what can only be described as excitement. The bones begin to gather around and connect to each other, forming chains together, linking together into great whips or ropes. The skulls begin to shift, the circle breaking as the bones begin to connect to the figure, their hands, these long chains of bone that are beginning to move like the tail of some great beast. They shift and writhe and whip as the figure twists it, the chain slamming into a nearby tree, which immediately withers to dust, thousands of years passing for it in just a moment. The spell is difficult to control, Meli. You've summoned this power, this spirit, but now you have to control it, to bind it, in order to use it again, to release it onto something under your control. You first have to bring it under your binding. The whip slams towards you, Meli, and Felix. What do? Do you dodge it? Do you block it?
Can I try and grab it?
You can. Do you grab it with your bare hand?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Felix is just going to once again put the bubble around him, still holding his wine glass, and he will just shout helpful words to Meli, theoretically using his flash of genius to give her bonuses to any checks she is making.
Okay. As the whip wraps around and slams into the bubble, it disintegrates, but saved you for a moment as the other whip goes towards Meli and she reaches her hand out to grab it. As it does so, Meli, how do you tame this power? Grabbing it, how do you capture it into your spellbook to release it later? What does it look like? What does it take? What does it cost?
I think she ties, once she's grabbed it, she sort of ties it around her hand and tries to use it to drag it closer to her. It is injuring her, holding on to it. Barb's digging into her hands, but she doesn't give up. She is determined that this spell that she's been working on for fucking ages will work to save her friends.
There's a moment as the bone barbs dig into Meli's flesh and begin to wither it like a finger of death, where it feels like you almost pass out, Meli. The force almost is too much. As you hear Felix's words and flashes of genius and advice blur into the background against this pain, against this inevitable end facing you. But as you pull on the chain of bone and bring the creature closer to you, there's a moment where a strange fear flashes across its eyes. Not used to someone actively moving towards it. This inevitability, this death. You pull it closer and closer until you're face to face with it. It's tall and lanky, just of bone, leaning down and looking over you. The medallion chain within grasp. Your spellbook open, one hand grabbing around one of the chains of bone. What does it look like as Meli takes control of this?
Did you say it had a medallion?
It does have a medallion hanging around its neck.
Okay, so I'll hold on to the chain with one hand, and the other hand I reach out, I pull the medallion off it, I put it on, and I say, I'm in charge now.
You snatch the medallion off and put it on, and as you say these words, the creature's eyes darken in anger. And it raises the other 3 whips, these chains of bone, to smash you. But before it can, it is pulled in. This arcane energy drawing in the creature. Its long neck, its skull, its 4 arms, the 4 chains with it, being pulled in and bound inside the medallion that you wear around your neck. The remaining sea of bones all clatter to the ground. The skulls dropping as well, breaking many of them. But most of the bones and those chains being bound within the medallion that hangs around your neck, bouncing with energy, moving this way and that, almost lifting as if magnetized towards the nearest bone, the nearest source of death. And you have this power to wield these chains, to release it, to control it. Maybe not forever, but to control it for a time. To direct that inevitable destruction. To protect your friends.
Felix will pick himself off the ground and, check he had not soiled himself after the bubble broke. And just look to Meli. Okay, well, that was interesting. I assume you don't want to talk about this with the others?
No, I don't. And I think you understand why I brought you and not them.
Yeah, I don't think that they would like that, but that was impressive.
Coming from you, that means a lot, so thank you.
Seriously, what you have accomplished being, by my people's standard, a fetus is incredible. I am very sad you were not with us more often on some of our adventures.
Meli's just gonna give him a hug. Because she
might
cry.
No.
No, it's happening. I've just roped in a demon thing. So
I can
deal with it.
squirming against my chest. Well, I'm certainly glad we'll have that on our side.
Me too, and I hope the others won't be too mad when they find out.
There'll be a lot going on.
Very true.
We should go.
Yeah, we should leave this creepy graveyard. I guess I'll teleport us.
Okay. As you guys are preparing to teleport out, more and more undead in this night, unrelated, but just from the leaking death energy overhead of the now several anchors broken, draws the undead. You fear for a moment as they close in, but as they get close, they stop. Kind of looking to Meli, but not getting any closer. As you finish the teleportation and teleport back and make your way back to regather with the others. You have all taken some time, and there's been a plan put in place to help Kalvyn delve into hell, to help release the solar and get the blessing. We'll say at this point you've also talked to Athenira to plan a summit, and you have a few days. There's only one anchor that remains in the sky, as the most recent one to break was the anchor of the Tempest. Stars above swirling into a hurricane in the sky, made of stars and comets. Storms rage for days, raining, rivers flood, oceans never cease their tumultuous waves, white-capping. Those who want to accompany Kalvyn, prepare to go to hell, while others prepare their own moments leading up to the summit and the final conflict. Kalvyn has captured these numerous strange infernal idols that will be used to go to hell. Kalvyn will go with Luminant Ratira, the half-orc, the auburn mohawk, basically, and a few other luminants in Kalvyn's order. I presume the scales go with them, though you don't have to. Would everyone in this narrative go, or would somebody else stay back?
I would absolutely go.
I'd go. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, I'm going to hell.
Well, let's all go to hell.
Yes.
It'll finally be the right temperature for Vesper again.
Felix will reluctantly go, but not trusting them to survive it without him.
Okay. So you guys gather around, and this, since this is Kalvyn's and Michael's not here, this will be sort of abbreviated, but I think it was important for Kalvyn to be part of the narrative here. So you use the idols in order to set up this fiery portal. You jump in. You fall amongst a ruin, a broken fortress tower. Outside, you see miles and miles of layers of fortresses, walls, castles, and ramparts, destroyed in a flame due to millennia of the devils fighting the demons at the gates of Armageddon. The name of the great infernal fortress along the line between hell and the infinite abyss is somewhat like the Great Wall of China, except it was built by devils, and on one side is hell and the other side is the abyss. The battle plan, as discussed by Kalvyn and put forth by Luminant Ratira, is you move quietly through these battlegrounds to the gates of hell themselves. There you charge, punch through to drive into the abyss. From there you'll follow the strange pendulum compass Kalvyn's team found to find the infernal prison called Helinox Rue. Then you break the solar Herderic out and portal back as quickly as possible. You move through quietly as you can, some clanking of the luminant knights drawing attention, fighting back. One dies. You get away. You get close enough to the gates of hell, hiding, looking over a ruined wall, seeing the gates are of this great, ruddy stone, infernal army facing them. Shields out. The gate is being hammered on the other side by demons. When it breaks, you prepare to charge. Horses are summoned as you prepare to fly or run or ride as quickly as you can through the gates when they break. They break and you rush through. Some luminants die helping you punch through, fighting both infernal forces, the devils, some flying, some not, Catus and Kindvols, as well as demons, massively horned Garistro and other pit fiends, bone devils, chains. You break through into the abyss, this great and dark pit. Floating twisted stones dot the landscape as you ride and jump from one to another, following the dark pendulum. You eventually find Hallonox Rue, this island floating with a ruddy stone spire made by the infernals, the devils. There's a thorned gate door and windows which allow you to look in to see bare, ruddy stone floor, a bowl of slightly glowing light embers, a shield against the wall. Charging forward, you get to the gate, breaking it open, but demons and devils alike flow towards the sound, attracted by souls to consume for the demons, and the infernals trying to stop you from releasing a Solar. You break down the door to find Solar Herderic, shield and spear ready. His countless demons, Greastro, pit fiends, imps, bone devils, chain demons, slod all tear towards the prison. You begin to fight them back, though the Solar has been here for a long time and is weakened. You fight wave and wave after these that rush in, trying as best you can to teleport out. The Solar trying to help, but you can't write a single rune or glyph without one of the demons or devils rushing in and stopping you, restarting the ritual. The luminates slowly, one by one, die as they're trying to hold it off. The Solar is wounded. They're starting to break through the windows now. Fire, bolts of infernal fire, eldritch blast, poison clouds as they surround and corner you in this place, not allowing you an inch to breathe or an inch to teleport out. Finally cornered with hope dwindling, Kalvyn grips his spear. Well, I think it's pretty fit. Got a world to save and all that. You see him looking out, determined. His golden orb lights like small suns surround Kalvyn as he looks out on the waves of fiends who crash down around you, and Kalvyn's determined glare fixates on what he has to do. He charges out, spear flashing like rays of the sun, shield bashing the fiends in waves, sun mantle cape billowing in the darkness. The fiends hunger, fixating on Kalvyn, rushing in on him, but distracted from your escape. Kalvyn, son of Klein, born a farmer's son with a hope for something more. Claws rake across Kalvyn's back, tearing off his cape as the portal runes are drawn. A quarter orc, with farm wisdom and a heart of gold. A flaming infernal sword cuts behind Kalvyn's leg, dropping him to one knee as the runes are finished. A knight luminant of the Sunmaker. A Greastro horn against armor. Plates of scales tear loose and the runes begin to glow. With a glory of protection and a virtue of sacrifice. Kalvyn's spear snaps under the weight of a demon as he draws a backup dagger and the escape portal opens beneath you. The glories surround Kalvyn in flurries of light as the Solar and remaining luminants look on in awe. Full glory, the fulfillment of the virtue, something only done by the saints, Solars, and the Sunmaker himself. These last moments we see as Kalvyn dances in slow motion, sound dulled, glory swirling in a storm of light, eyes narrowed, teeth gritting as he raises his shield in defiance one last time. Glories coalesce around the cracked shield, glowing with the blinding light of the sun. Full glory, a halo of light around Kalvyn's head that burns away the shadows, the demons and the devils as the shield breaks and Kalvyn falls. And the portal opens beneath you and you're whisked away. You land on...
Have to hold Vesper and pull her in because she is screaming and trying to get to Kalvyn the entire time. So someone will have to drag her along, but...
The half-orc, Luminate, pulls you back as the gravity of the portal itself pulls you. Being whisked away, the path corrupted by the abyss and 6 layers of hell, you land upon sand, the beaches of Embershore, where you spent time with your friends growing up, where you first saw Orcesis. Takes time to adjust, to accept, to understand, to contemplate what happened. As you slowly come to, each of you has a glowing halo of light, a disc of gold in the Renaissance saint style, as you find yourselves on the shore of Embershore, a few days away from the summit. I imagine you all spend time accepting what happened, maybe performing some sort of ceremony or funeral rite that you have nothing to perform it with. Speak with family and friends in Embershore, adjusting as best you can, informing Klein, his family, as the days move towards the summit. And the Grand Architect gives one of you the teleportation runes for the meeting. During this time, I imagine that Vesper tells Ellory what she learned about the Harbinger.
Yeah, I want to find time alone with her. Probably not right when we get back.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with that. But at some point when it seems appropriate, I'll try to find a time to talk to Ellory alone.
You communicate what you know about the Harbinger, Silver and Crimson, as best you understand it. As you all, as a group and individuals, deal with what happened and what lies ahead, preparing, spending time as best you can. And next is either Ellory taking the information she learns and finding out more, or the Felix scene, because they both kind of happen in this time period. Do you have a preference on which comes first?
I definitely talked to Ellory before the last day, and I think Felix said it was going to be like the last night in Embershore.
Yeah, it's kind of his just last moment before the big event.
Okay. So maybe that's kind of where we get. Where that'll begin kind of Ellory's scene.
I think when Vesper first tells her this information about the switch, I think Ellory, there's this moment of anger where she's had this sort of growing jealousy for a while now. This sense of unfairness that it seems like Vesper gets to have these things that she felt like, that Ellory felt like she never had or didn't have the chance to have. And there's this moment where she's about to say something about, well, what makes Vesper so special that she deserves to be protected and Ellory doesn't deserve that. But after just losing Kalvyn and how similar that felt to losing Ezekiel, that anger fades. And she gives Vesper a hug and says, "You made the right choice."
I know, but it wasn't easy. I wanted to switch back. I knew it'd be easier on you. It's not fair to you, any of this, but I couldn't betray Ayin, and I couldn't I had the chance to choose to give in to whatever darkness is supposed to be inside of me or be better than it. And I chose to try and be better. It wasn't easy.
Honestly, I think I'd be more upset if you had chosen to go along with her plans.
I'm sorry, Ellory.
I just wish I understood what this meant.
I don't think I can help with that, but now that we've got time, maybe I can try and talk to Kel. I promised you a while ago that I would try, but a lot's happened over the past few days.
I don't even know what I would say to her now.
Would you like me to try, or do you want to wait?
I think I wrote a letter to her with Mogther and Shirza, and I think maybe that said what I needed to say until I can see her face to face. If I can. If we all get out of this alive.
I'm going to do my best to make sure that the rest of us do.
What I don't understand is how all of this connects together. How does all this thing with you and deceit and our fucking souls being switched?
More like the harbingers themselves. I think we're the vessels.
I thought that this whole armor of sin thing had something to do with me, with that angel that came to the ship, but
there's a northeastern wind that blows. The clouds part in that direction, and you see two stars swirling around each other before the clouds reform and it fades. You look out on the bay outside of Embershore, stones glowing underneath the waves.
Did you see that, Vesper?
I did.
I have to go.
What? What do you mean go?
I have to go. There's still that prophecy. That one about the Knights of the Lost Gods and someone with no birth or heritage.
You don't have to go alone, right? We can come with you.
I don't know how to get there in time and bring you along.
You'll be back, right?
Yes. Look, I need to find out what the fuck this is all about. And if I can't do it in time, then I still have to try. But I will be back.
Vesper will... Oh, gosh, I don't even know. It takes her probably a couple moments to process, and then she'll give Ellory a hug. If there's anything we can do.
Just, if I'm a little late, don't leave without me.
Okay. Be careful.
I will. And I'll hurry.
I just hope I hope you find what you're looking for.
Thank you, Vesper. You know, there's no one else I'd rather switch harbingers with. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. I love you very much, and we'll be here when you get back. No matter how much of a fit Felix kicks up.
Well, I'm ready for his insults when I get back.
Maybe you'll have the power to smite him when you do.
I already do have the power to smite him.
That's true. Should remind him of that once in a while. Be safe.
You too. Don't get into too much trouble while I'm gone.
Ellory, you maybe it's this day or the next, you prepare with Stormdreamer to find a way over these last, with the tempest anchor gone, storming and winds and rains and floods are more commonplace. They've always been common in Severwind, but even more so now. And Storm Dreamer tells you it's easier to summon a storm now than it ever has been. Voltamare is closer than she ever has been. And you two come up with the idea to summon a storm and send it forth. You can fly within it, directing it somewhat through your spells, spheres of storm and lightning, wind, to push it in the right direction to search. Between the clouds, every now and then you see a vision of those stars you think. It's hard to know. By taking a chance, you and Stormtringer collect on the edge of Embershore, the same cliff outcropping next to the Odysseus temple where you summoned a smaller storm before and saw the face of Voltamare in the storm. A similar ritual is taking place, salting, blessing the rain scum and the wind and the rolling clouds and thunder. But the storm is much bigger. A small hurricane, maybe a mile wide, crashes against the edge of the city. The waves tumultuous below, the glowing embers below them. As you prepare to step into it, to fly into the storm, Storm Dreamer, the tiefling priestess, takes your hand and overlooks the scar on it caused by the lightning. She presses her finger to it, just an inch or two away, as an arc of lightning stretches from her hand to yours, along the edge of the scar. Call this good luck. Call this a blessing of Voltamare. I hope you find what you're looking for, Ellory.
Thank you, Storm Dreamer.
May the winds be at your back.
I think they will be.
She smirks as she takes a few steps back. The storm grows and you feel that familiar feeling of it rising beneath you. Something you can float in, fly in, become part of, focusing and almost centering yourself to join the storm, be part of it. And you begin to fly in the storm, more in tune with it this time than it was the first time, and directing the storm towards where you last saw the binary stars. You search for them, following the storm day and night, flying in the wind, thunder, rain, lightning, the face of Voltamare forming and dissociating in the waves below, and the storm you fly in. A few days pass, exhausted, just staying awake, flying, directing towards the stars. They never seem to get closer, and the last day and this night, you've lost them. They don't appear anymore. You can't find them. But you do start to see something. A wall of sorts. It shimmers as you cross this threshold, and suddenly where it looked like empty ocean, you see the cliffs of an island and the beaches. Your storm can't quite make it all the way. It comes just up to the edge of the land. You see figures reacting as you approach. Golden figures, eyes alight, armor, feet not touching the stone, sinless, floating, without the burden. You see horses with wings grazing and walking along the stone, as several of these celestial beings float towards you, calling out to each other and you with voices like bells, as they kind of gather around and you fly to the island, to the edge of it. There's one, though, that doesn't fly. One that walks on the stone. No bracelet. A male-looking figure who can't seem to fly. And they speak in a language strange, the words, but somehow you understand them. You remember them. And these figures seem to remember you as the one who walks on stone with a bracelet missing approaches you, looking up to you, flying in the air. Child of the storm, you return to us. Why?
I lower myself down to the edge of this island, looking at him, seeing that he's the only one who doesn't have one of these bracelets. And I think I take the bracelet that I made, the copy, off of my wrist. And I'm about to hold it out to him, but instead I just kind of hold it in my hand and look down at it and then at him.
I am glad you still carry the blessing. I hope that it served you well. Though I am confused, you walk on stone yet can still fly, sinless. Do not understand how.
A blessing.
Of our people, yes. Do you remember me?
No, I don't.
I see. I am Selenai. I once walked freely, sinless, feet never touching sin or stone. But you came to us, washed up on these storms with the storm, washing you on these shores, like the storm at your back. We did not know what to do with you. A baby, a small child. We understand what it is, a child, but we do not have them here. We argued about what to do. Many thought we should return you, to throw you back into the sea from where you came. But others wanted to. We knew not why, but thought you should be protected. And we did want to return you. Our people do not leave this place. This is our world, and to leave it is a sin. But to devoid a life is also a sin. And so we agreed to return you. That one of us would walk upon stone and sin in order to bring you somewhere. Bring you back as best we could. And so I sinned, and I left our lands. I could not fly anymore, but I rode one of our beasts, as he gestures towards one of the horses with wings. And I flew with you for days, and I tried to find and follow the storms that reminded me of you and how you came to our lands. And I saw a city of light, and I tried to find somewhere happy to leave you. But I did not know what would happen. There was a storm there in that place, on the edge, and I had hoped that you would be blessed. And so I left you my bracelet, a blessing, for you to use if you needed it. And I returned home to this iron art world, where I still cannot, where I can only walk on stone. But I am here, and now so are you. You return as something else, one who can fly but also walk on stone. Sinless or sinful? Do we sin too? Are we meant to leave this land?
I can certainly say that I'm not without sin, but I have been blessed. The goddess Voltimeri helped me to come here, to seek you out. And your bracelet, I'm afraid this one is just a copy. I made it later, but the first one, the one that you left me, it did help me. It helped to save the life of somebody that I love.
Love. I am gladdened that it helped you. Is that your goddess? And he points to the storm behind you.
Well,
does she wish to have water or food?
That's not my goddess herself. That's a piece of her power. Have you really been here? How long have all of you been here?
Forever.
And you've never left, except
for me. It is a sin to leave this place. What lies beyond our world is sin. That is why I cannot walk, return too far into the island. I stay on the beaches here. But now, and you can see some of the others, these strange celestials are beginning to gather and talk amongst themselves. You catch a few of the words here or there, but they seem to be questioning what to do with you. Some see that you can fly as evidence that you're sinless and that you can leave this place and still be without sin and be ascended enough to be able to fly. Others argue that you've walked on stone and thus can't be sinless. And there's a bit of a divide being formed as they talk around you.
You said that you're the only one who's left, but I met another like you.
That cannot be.
She came to the ship that I was sailing on. She had a winged horse like the ones that you have here.
He begins to shake his head, furrow his brow and confused. You can see his armor's a little different, sharper, not as smooth. It's still golden, but of a different hue, less gleaming and more of like maybe a dull bronze or brass. As he shakes his head, there's a figure who floats down towards you, eyes watery and shaking as they look upon you and they raise their hand out to you. A female. Her feet float above the stone, but only by a few inches, nearly touching.
Does she look like the one who came to the ship?
As much as you remember, look similar. All of these figures, though some look more masculine or feminine, they do resemble each other very closely, but yeah, it kind of does.
I look at her and I take a step forward. You've been away from this island, haven't you?
She begins to shake her head and open her mouth, but then She stops. Wrong. It would be wrong to leave this place. But we must. She's looking confused as if the words aren't coming from her.
You said something. It was you, wasn't it? Something about it being too late?
No, it wasn't me.
Her eyes grow wide as she realizes what she said. A lie, a sin, and her flying stops. She drops the few inches to the stone. She kind of gets back to her feet. Her armor is changed from the smooth gold to a more sharp, not quite jagged, deep purple. Her appearance changing to match. The worry and concern and almost fear on her face begins to fade away to one of near determination.
It may be too late. For some, not for all. I would like to leave with you, if you will have me.
There's
I
a
think
good.
Ellory has this look on her face, like kind of conflicted, I guess. Why did you come to me?
Why did you come to us?
Because I needed to understand.
So do I. There's more than this place. I know it. You're evidence of it. One who walks on stone and flies.
There's a whole world out there.
Take me with you.
At this point, there's murmuring amongst the rest of them that are still flying. Some seem to be arguing, some coming closer, some staying far away.
If you want to come with me, then I will take you.
Selenai speaks up as well.
And I. May I go?
Yes.
May I come too?
With the word, his form changes to darker and purple, though he already walked upon the stone. Others begin to argue between each other, and some of them fly down on their own accord, wingless, and step on the stone, shifting forms. You see many of them begin to gather and whistle and bring about their winged horses, as maybe half of, at least the people you can see, gather on the edge, on the stony beaches on the edge of this island. A sizable force, maybe 100 or two, wearing this dark armor and weapons, cavalry with wings.
The world out there. And I think at this point, seeing how many people are gathering, I would use thaumaturgy to boost my volume to speak to everyone. The world out there, the world that I come from, that I grew up in. And I kind of look at this man who left to bring me back into that world. The world where you found a home for me. It's a dangerous world, and it's in danger.
It does help.
I would gladly accept your help. And if we can save the world out there, and if you want me to, I'll do what I can to help you find a place in it. Any of you who wish to come, but I won't blame anyone who wants to stay.
You see half of them who are moving away almost in fear, still golden and flying, wingless, and sinless where the others, many land upon the beaches and walking the stones, calling their winged horses to ready themselves, wearing armor, brandishing weapons that they've never used before. But they seem to move coherently. Knights trained but without experience, and gather around you ready to follow you. With Selenai, the man mounting his horse, kind of at the head next to you, ready. Ellory, when you get ready, does Ellory fly back into the storm to fly back? Or does she ride upon the winged horse?
That is a good question. I think Ellory puts the bracelet back on her wrist where it was before. Even if it's not the same one that she had. She came to this island by storm, and she will leave again the same way that she left before. By hitching a ride on this winged horse.
Okay. You gather up and mount up, and so does the rest of these probably 250 or so figures and people willing to leave. Many stay. Many wail their voices, not just like bells, but more of like bells of mourning as the others prepare to leave, to sin by walking on stone, to sin by leaving and brandishing weapons, to sin, to kill if need be. But they mount up and they follow you to see this world and to help save it, to learn more about what world lies outside. And you all fly. A small army mounted on winged horses. As you fly back towards Embershore over the next couple of days. As Ellory is flying back, arriving, I presume a big ruckus about who these figures are. Tensions being high at first, but probably being calmed down at some point. We get to maybe the night before you're meant to leave and teleport to Karnath in Felnor, the city where Empress Athenira is, where we zoom in on Felix. One of the last anchors breaks over these last few days. An anchor that left a psychic pulse and winds, leaving in the air dreams and nightmares, visions and mirages, as the anchor of knowledge breaks, the deep mind awakening. Felix, it sends you into a spiral in ways when you meditate. It is different and it takes adjusting to. And at this point, there's only one anchor left. You can now see in the sky all the anchors and how they hang in the sky like a ring of this strange glass stone hanging, like seeing Saturn's rings from the inside, surrounded by a cracked sky with one anchor remaining, and Nymonet. What does Felix do on his last night in Embershore before the summit?
Felix will spend the evening doing or trying to do much what he always does, meditating and crafting and preparing for what comes up the next day. And I think he will find himself constantly shaking and pacing and getting nervous. He'll go pace around the town, doing like the creepy like Ebenezer Scrooge thing where he's looking into the windows of all the people being happy at Christmas as the Scales are enjoying their last nights with the family. And then he will say, fuck it, grab several bottles of wine from the copper sale, and knock on the door of Miss L. Forrester.
The door opens up as you see a figure in a very stylishly sewn robe, sort of a home robe, and holding a glass of wine.
Hi. I know that you have mixed feelings about what I put you through, but the world, as you might notice from the sky, is kind of ending, and tomorrow me and the rest of those idiots are going to meet with the people that are sort of causing it, but also it's going to happen anyway, and suffice to say, I can't sleep and I need a distraction. Will you let me into your closet and dress me for the evening to distract me?
Oh my gosh, Felix, yes. Yes, we should absolutely do that. The world has been so drab lately, and I would love nothing more. I think this is what her voice sounded like. It's been a while.
Felix will delicately set his bag filled with wine bottles down with a clank. Great. I brought supplies. I just need one night to forget that I am holding together the end of the world. And he will, just spend his last possible, free night on Earth getting drunk and looking pretty with Elle.
Is there like a mini montage of that classic Felix comes out of the dressing room and Elle like shakes her head or thumbs ups?
I think that's perfect. And he will be in suits, dresses, whatever. As a physically fit elf, he has a model's body for every gender. So I think it's fun.
Okay. You try everything on, drink through probably several bottles of wine, eat whatever it is you guys eat, pastries or whatever. And towards the end of the night, or maybe in the morning when you're preparing to leave, she will hand you some lemon drops for the road.
Thank you very much. Good luck, if I die and the world ends.
Oh, I hope it'll be fine. I think it will be. I have a fantastic collection coming out. It's themed around the end of the world, and, well, I hope it lasts long enough for it to come out at least. All right, save me from myself.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's good.
Okay. So as Ellory returns with a small army of angels, and Felix drinks with sunglasses water to recover from a presumed hangover from dressing up with Elle, you all gather together again, saying your goodbyes to your family and friends in Ember Shore as you gather around and prepare to follow the runes that Athenir gave you to go to Felnor once more, to the seat of power of the Will and the Dawn Coalition, and of Empress Athenir Ralakir. The Bronze Scales leaving home once more, and we will pick up there next time. Next time on Back to the Story. You look up and around to find a dark and scarred sky, like it's been ripped through a blanket, leaving white and red tearing across it. They've said many lies before my city, and for what? For many of our allies to be killed, your people
Deep Lord Karnak to be killed? How could we believe them?
Thanks for listening to this episode of Back to the Story. If you liked what you heard, give us a subscription. We're available on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and more. If you'd like to contact us, you can tweet us at back_the_story. And if you can't fit it into 280 characters, you can always email us at thebonfirefables@gmail.com. For behind-the-scenes sneak peeks, memes, updates, and more, follow us on either Twitter or on our Tumblr, back-to-the-story.tumblr.com. Lastly, if you're in a generous mood, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/backtothestory. We'll see you next time in Northville.